Oh my God. What is this? Is this some kind of sick joke?
The email arrived at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, sender unknown, subject line blank. Alec Mercer stared at his laptop screen in his home office, the blue light casting shadows across his weathered face. 13 years of marriage, 2 kids, a mortgage in suburban Pittsburgh, and a forensic accounting practice that kept food on the table. Life was predictable, ordered, exactly how he liked it. The attachment loaded slowly. Security footage from inside his own house, his own bedroom, his own wife. Natalie writhed beneath Derek Sims, the deputy DA who'd been coming to dinner parties for 3 years. The man who'd shaken Alec's hand last Sunday after church. Derek's face was twisted in pleasure as he gripped Natalie's hips, her wedding ring catching the afternoon light as she clawed at his back. The timestamp showed last Thursday. Alec had been in Cleveland auditing pension funds for the state. Logan was at soccer practice. May was at dance class. Perfect timing. Alec's breathing remained steady, his pulse unchanged. 10 years in private military contracting had taught him to compartmentalize. Emotion was noise. Data was truth, and the data was crystal clear. He closed the laptop with a soft click. In the darkness of his office, surrounded by files and legal documents, Alec Mercer made a decision that would destroy 3 lives and transform him into something unrecognizable. "If they want to burn it all down," he whispered to the empty room, "I'll light the match." The next morning, Alec kissed Natalie goodbye at the kitchen counter, same as always. She smiled that practice smile, the one that had charmed politicians and donors at her high-end events for years. Her auburn hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless despite the early hour. "Don't wait up tonight," she said, adjusting his tie. "The Morrison fundraiser runs late." "Of course," Alec replied, his voice unchanged. "Drive safe." Logan wolfed down cereal while scrolling his phone. May complained about her math homework. Normal Tuesday morning chaos in the Mercer household. Except nothing would ever be normal again. After they left, Alec made 3 phone calls. First, to a security company that specialized in covert surveillance. Second, to his old friend Lorna Vance, now a federal agent. Third, to a private investigator who owed him a favor from the Detroit pension scandal. "I need eyes on 2 people," he told the PI. "Full financial workup, communications, the works. Money is no object." By noon, micro cameras were installed in every room of his house. By evening, he had Derek's phone records going back 6 months. By midnight, he was reviewing bank statements that made his blood run cold. This wasn't just adultery. This was theft. The Children's Hospital Charity Fund had been Alec's idea. 3 years ago, watching his daughter recover from appendicitis, he'd wanted to give back. Natalie had volunteered to handle the event planning. Derek had offered legal oversight, pro bono. Now, staring at spreadsheets at 3 a.m., Alec watched $180,000 disappear into ghost accounts. Fake vendor payments, inflated catering costs. Money that should have bought medical equipment for sick kids had instead funded weekend trips to Miami and expensive jewelry. The email trail was damning. Natalie to Derek. "Another $15K cleared. Alec never checks the charity books." Derek to Natalie. "Smart man, but trusts his wife. Will bleed it dry before he notices." Alec saved everything to encrypted drives, multiple copies. The forensic accountant in him appreciated the meticulous documentation of their own crimes. Thursday morning brought Detective Lorna Vance to his office. She looked exactly like she had in Kandahar 7 years ago. Short blonde hair, sharp eyes, shoulders that could carry the world. "You sounded like hell on the phone," she said, closing the door behind her. "I need to run something by someone I trust." Alex slid a folder across his desk. "Hypothetically." Lorna scanned the financial documents, her expression hardening. "Hypothetically, this is federal fraud. Wire fraud, conspiracy, money laundering, 20 years minimum." Hypothetically. "Alec, what's going on?" He showed her the bedroom footage. Lorna's jaw tightened. "Jesus, I'm sorry." "Don't be. I'm past that now." Alec's voice was flat, businesslike. "I need to know my options, legal options. You could turn this over to the FBI right now? Have them both arrested by dinner? Too fast, too clean." Alec reclaimed the folder. "They planned this for 3 years, Lorna. Stole from sick children while sleeping in my bed. They deserve something special." Lorna leaned back in her chair. "The Alec Mercer I knew in Afghanistan wouldn't have talked like that. The Alec Mercer you knew in Afghanistan didn't have kids to protect." That afternoon, Alec visited Marlene Cassidy, the self-appointed queen of Willowbrook Estates Homeowners Association. Her Tudor revival house was immaculate, her gossip network legendary. "Alec, what a pleasant surprise." Marlene cooed, inviting him into her formal living room. Coffee? Actually, I was hoping you could help me with something sensitive. Alex sat on the edge of her floral sofa. It's about Natalie. Marlene's eyes lit up. Nothing excited her more than neighborhood scandal. I'm concerned about her stress levels, Alec continued. All these late nights, the mood swings. I think the pressure of her business might be getting to her. Oh my, Marlene murmured. Now that you mention it, I did see her coming home at odd hours, and that deputy district attorney has been around quite a bit. Derek's been helping with some legal issues, Alex said carefully. But between you and me, I think Natalie might be developing feelings for him. You know how these professional relationships can get complicated. Marlene practically vibrated with excitement. Oh dear, that poor man Derek having to navigate such an awkward situation. And you, of course, trusting your wife completely. I do trust her, Alec lied smoothly, but I worry about appearances. You understand? By evening, Marlene had called 6 neighbors. By morning, the entire development would be buzzing with whispers about Natalie Mercer's inappropriate closeness with Derek Sims. Alec drove home through suburban streets lined with perfectly manicured lawns, past the playground where his children had learned to swing, beyond the community center where he'd coached Logan's baseball team. Everything looked the same. Everything was different. In his office, he opened his laptop and began liquidating assets. Joint savings accounts, investment portfolios, the line of credit secured by their house. All of it transferred to accounts in his name only. The first transaction cleared at 11:33 p.m. $47,000 from their emergency fund. Natalie's credit cards would start declining tomorrow. I'm sorry, ma'am, but your card has been declined. Alec watched through the security feed as Natalie stood frozen at the Nordstrom counter, her face flushing red. She tried 3 different cards. All declined. There must be some mistake, she stammered, pulling out her phone. Alec's phone buzzed. Emergency text from his wife. He let it ring. The anonymous tip to the IRS had been elegant in its simplicity. A concerned citizen reporting suspected tax evasion by Deputy DA Derek Sims and event planner Natalie Mercer. Documentation attached. The audit notice would arrive by certified mail within days. Derek's reaction was less composed. The audio feed from his Mercedes captured every word of his panicked phone call to Natalie. What the duck do you mean all your accounts are frozen? I don't know. Alec handles the finances, but he's been acting strange. Strange how? Quiet, watching me. Jesus, Derek, what if he knows? He doesn't know crap. Guy's a pencil-pushing accountant who couldn't find his own butt with both hands. Alec smiled at that. He'd killed 12 men in Afghanistan with his bare hands. But sure, pencil pusher. The confrontation came Saturday night at the Riverside Country Club. Derek was holding court at the bar, regaling city councilmen with war stories from the DA's office. His confidence was infectious, his laugh booming across the mahogany-paneled room. Alec appeared at his elbow like a ghost. Derek? Enjoying yourself? The deputy DA turned, his smile never wavering. Alec, great to see you, buddy. Natalie said you've been working too hard. Did she? Alec signaled the bartender. Scotch, neat. Make it a double. Everything all right? You look like hell. Funny thing about my line of work, Alec said, accepting his drink. You learn to see patterns, follow the money. Sometimes you find things you weren't looking for. Derek's smile flickered. Such as? Alec raised his glass in a toast. Charity fraud, wire transfers, inflated vendor payments. He paused, watching Derek's face drain of color. Hotel receipts from Miami. The glass slipped from Derek's hand, scotch splashing across his $1,000 suit. Jesus, Derek, you're shaking, Alec observed. Something wrong? Derek grabbed Alec's arm, his grip tight enough to bruise. I don't know what game you're playing. No game. Alec twisted free with casual efficiency, his military training showing. Just connecting dots. You'd be amazed what 3 years of bank records can tell you. Derek's face went from pale to flushed. You son of a bitch. Careful, Alec warned, his voice dropping to a whisper. Threatening a federal witness is another felony. Federal witness? Did I forget to mention? The FBI is very interested in charity fraud these days. Something about public trust. Alec drained his scotch. Enjoy your evening, Derek. What's left of it? He was halfway to the parking lot when Derek's security detail caught up. 2 ex-cops moonlighting as muscle, their faces grim with purpose. Mr. Mercer, the larger one called. Need to have a word. Alec kept walking toward his motorcycle, a black Ducati he'd bought during his mercenary days. Already had my word with your boss. He'd like another one. The smaller man moved to block his path. Mistake. Alec drove his elbow into the man's solar plexus, dropping him gasping to the asphalt. The larger one reached for something under his jacket. Alec was already moving, swinging his helmet in a vicious arc that connected with the man's temple. He went down hard. "Tell Derek he needs better help," Alec called over his shoulder, starting the Ducati's engine. The chase began immediately. Derek's black Escalade roared out of the country club parking lot, tires screaming against asphalt. Alec gunned the motorcycle through suburban streets, weaving between cars with practiced precision. The Escalade was fast but clumsy. Alec cut through side streets, alleyways, construction zones. The motorcycle's agility was his advantage. He could go places the SUV couldn't follow. Downtown Pittsburgh opened up before him, city lights streaking past in neon blurs. The Escalade was falling behind, its driver unwilling to match Alec's dangerous pace through traffic. Alec took the final turn at 60 miles per hour, knee nearly scraping asphalt. Behind him, the Escalade's driver finally lost his nerve, pulling over with smoke rising from overheated brakes. Safe in his garage, Alec removed his helmet and checked his phone. 17 missed calls from Natalie. He deleted them all without listening. Sunday morning brought the reckoning. Alec sat at the kitchen table, drinking coffee and reading the newspaper like any other weekend. Natalie stumbled downstairs in her robe, eyes red from crying, phone clutched in her hand. "We need to talk," she said. "Do we?" "Don't play dumb, Alec. I know you froze our accounts." "Our accounts?" He folded the newspaper carefully. Funny thing about joint accounts. Either party can make withdrawals. "This is insane. You can't just—" "Can't what? Protect my assets from theft?" Natalie's face went white. "What are you talking about?" Alex stood slowly, walked to his laptop, and opened it on the kitchen counter. The bedroom footage filled the screen in high definition. Natalie's knees buckled. She gripped the counter for support, watching herself betray 13 years of marriage in vivid detail. "Oh, God," she whispered. "Thursday afternoon," Alex said conversationally. "While I was in Cleveland, while Logan was at soccer practice, while May was at dance class. Very considerate timing." "Alec, please." "But wait, there's more." He clicked to another window. Bank records filled the screen. $180,000, stolen from a children's hospital charity. Money that should have bought ventilators and heart monitors. Natalie slumped into a chair, her face buried in her hands. "You want to know the truly impressive part?" Alec continued. "You documented everything. Email trails, vendor receipts, hotel reservations, a forensic accountant's dream case. It wasn't supposed to happen like this." "How was it supposed to happen? You and Derek steal another 100,000, 200? When were you planning to leave? After you'd cleaned out the kids' college funds?" Logan appeared in the kitchen doorway, still in his pajamas. "Dad? Mom? Why are you yelling?" May was right behind him, her favorite stuffed animal clutched against her chest. Alec looked at his children, then at his wife. "Kids, your mother and I need to discuss some adult things. Why don't you go watch TV?" "Are you getting divorced?" Logan asked, his 13-year-old voice cracking. Natalie started crying again, great heaving sobs that echoed through the kitchen. Alec knelt down to his son's eye level. "Logan, May, come here." They approached cautiously, sensing the gravity of the moment. "Your mother made some very bad choices," Alec said quietly. "She took money that didn't belong to her. She lied to me and to you. Sometimes when people make bad choices, there are consequences." "What kind of consequences?" May asked, her 8-year-old eyes wide with concern. Alec glanced at Natalie, still sobbing at the kitchen table. "She's going to have to go away for a while, to take responsibility for what she did." "You mean jail?" Logan whispered. "I mean, facing the truth." Alec pulled both children into a hug. "But no matter what happens, I want you to know that I love you both. That will never change." "Do you still love Mom?" May asked. Alec looked over their heads at his wife. Natalie met his eyes for the first time in days, her face streaked with tears and mascara. "I love who I thought she was," he said finally. "But that person never existed." Logan pulled back from the hug. "You still want to live with someone who lies?" Out of the mouths of babes. The federal courthouse in downtown Pittsburgh was a monument to American justice, its limestone facade carved with quotes about truth and equality. Alec climbed the steps on Monday morning with a briefcase full of evidence and a heart full of cold determination. Special Agent Rebecca Moss was younger than he'd expected, but her reputation preceded her. Financial Crimes Division, 90% conviction rate, known for building airtight cases that sent white-collar criminals away for decades. "Mr. Mercer," she said, shaking his hand in her sparse office. "Agent Vance speaks very highly of you. Lorna's a good friend. She said you might be interested in some irregularities I've discovered." Charity fraud, she mentioned. Alec opened his briefcase methodically. $187,436, stolen from the Children's Hospital Charity Fund over 36 months. He spread documents across her desk. Bank records, email printouts, vendor receipts, hotel reservations. 3 years of meticulous theft laid out in chronological order. Agent Moss whistled low. "This is impressive work. You could teach a master class in forensic accounting." The perpetrators were sloppy. They assumed nobody was watching. "And the personal connection?" Alex slid the divorce papers across the desk. "My wife, her business partner. They thought I was too trusting to notice." "Were you?" "For 3 years, yes. Not anymore." Agent Moss studied the evidence with professional appreciation. "This is prosecutable under federal law. Wire fraud, conspiracy, money laundering. We're talking 15 to 20 years minimum. What do you need from me? Your testimony, your cooperation, and patience. These cases take time to build properly." Alex stood to leave. "Agent Moss, I want them to understand what they destroyed. Not just my marriage, those kids in the hospital who didn't get the equipment they needed. Make sure that's part of the story." "I'll make sure." Derek's suspension came down the next day. Pending federal investigation, the deputy DA was relieved of all duties. His cases reassigned, his office sealed. The news hit Pittsburgh's legal community like a bomb. Natalie's phone rang constantly. Clients demanding explanations, vendors wanting payment, friends offering hollow sympathy. She'd barricaded herself in the master bedroom, emerging only for bathroom breaks and wine refills. Alec moved into the guest room without comment. He made breakfast for the kids, drove them to school, helped with homework. Normal dad stuff, except nothing was normal anymore. "Dad," Logan said over dinner Tuesday night, "kids at school are saying weird things." "What kind of things?" "About Mom, about stealing money." Alex set down his fork. "What do you want to know? Did she really take money from sick kids?" The question hung in the air like smoke. May stopped eating, waiting for an answer. "Yes," Alex said simply. "She did." "Why?" "I don't know, buddy. People make bad choices for complicated reasons." "Are we going to be okay?" May asked, her voice small. "We're going to be fine. I promise." That night, after the kids were asleep, Natalie finally emerged from the bedroom. She looked haggard, aged 10 years in a week. Her perfect hair was unwashed, her makeup smeared. "We need to talk," she said. "Now you want to talk?" "Alec, please. I can explain." "Explain what? The affair? The theft? The 3 years of lies?" Natalie slumped into the couch across from him. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. You keep saying that. How was it supposed to happen?" Derek said, "He said you'd never notice. That we could take just enough to get started, then put it back." "Get started doing what?" "His political campaign. He's running for district attorney next year. We needed seed money." Alex stared at her. "You stole from a children's charity to fund your boyfriend's political ambitions. It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple." He leaned forward. "When did you stop loving me, Natalie?" The question caught her off guard. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. I don't know. Was it before the affair? Before the theft? Or did losing respect for me make the rest easier?" "You were never here," she said finally. "Always working, always traveling. Derek paid attention to me. I was building a life for our family. You were hiding from our family." Maybe she was right. Maybe he had been distant, focused on work, taking her for granted. But that didn't justify theft. It didn't justify betrayal. "I want you out of the house," he said. "Alec, tonight. Pack whatever you need. Everything else stays." "What about the kids? What about them?" "I'm their mother." "You're a federal criminal awaiting indictment. Do you really think that's what's best for Logan and May?" Natalie started crying again, but the tears felt performative now. Calculated. She'd used tears to manipulate him for years, and he was finally seeing it clearly. "One more thing," Alex said, standing up. "Derek's been bragging around town about how stupid I am, how easy it was to fool the trusting husband. I want you to give him a message from me." "What message?" "Tell him I said thank you." "Thank you? For showing me who you really are, for giving me legal grounds for full custody, for being so arrogant that you documented your own crimes." Alex smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. "Tell him this is just the beginning." Wednesday morning brought more gifts. Agent Moss called with an update. We've executed search warrants on both their residences and offices. Computers, phones, financial records. Your wife's lawyer wants to make a deal. What kind of deal? Cooperation in exchange for reduced charges. She's willing to testify against Derek Sims. Interesting. There's more. We found evidence of campaign finance violations. Derek's been using charity money to fund political activities. That's a separate federal crime. Alec felt something dark and satisfied uncurl in his chest. How much time are we talking about? For him? 25 to 30 years if convicted on all counts. For her? 15 to 20, depending on cooperation. And the children? You'll have to work that out in family court, but I'd say your chances of full custody are excellent. That evening, Alec received an unexpected visitor. Derek Sims stood on his front porch, looking like he'd aged a decade in 3 days. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his expensive suit wrinkled. "We need to talk," Derek said. "Do we?" Alec didn't invite him in. "You're destroying innocent people." "Innocent?" Alec laughed. "That's rich coming from you." Natalie made a mistake, a stupid, emotional mistake. But she doesn't deserve to have her life destroyed. Neither did those kids in the hospital. Derek stepped closer, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper. "You think you're some kind of hero? You're just a pathetic cuckold trying to save face." "Maybe, but I'm a pathetic cuckold with ironclad evidence of federal crimes. This isn't over." "You're right," Alec agreed. "It's just getting started." Derek turned to leave, then paused. "You know what the funny thing is? Natalie never loved you." "Not really. She told me you were boring in bed, useless as a husband, that she was only staying for the kids' sake." The words hit like physical blows, but Alec's expression never changed. "Is that supposed to hurt me?" "Isn't it? Derek, 3 days ago, I would have killed you with my bare hands for touching my wife. Today, I'm grateful. You did me the biggest favor of my life." "How's that?" "You showed me the truth. About her, about myself, about what I was willing to accept." Alec stepped onto the porch, closing the distance between them. "I spent 13 years trying to be the perfect husband for a woman who despised me. Now I'm free to be something else entirely." Derek backed away, suddenly aware that he was alone on the porch with a man who'd killed professionally. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you picked the wrong accountant to duck with." Alec's voice was soft, conversational. "It means I have resources you can't imagine, patience you can't comprehend, and motivation you'll never understand. It means this is war, and you just brought a knife to a gunfight." Derek practically ran to his car. Thursday brought the custody hearing. Alec sat in family court wearing his best suit, flanked by 2 lawyers who specialized in high-stakes divorce cases. Across the aisle, Natalie looked small and broken next to her overworked public defender. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s who'd seen every kind of family dysfunction. She reviewed the evidence with professional detachment, the federal charges, the financial fraud, the documented affair. "Mrs. Mercer," she said finally, "do you dispute any of these allegations?" "No, Your Honor." "And you understand that pending federal charges affect this court's determination of what's in the best interests of the children?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Mr. Mercer, you're seeking full custody with supervised visitation for the mother?" "Yes, Your Honor. My children have been through enough trauma. They need stability." The judge made a ruling quickly. Full custody to Alec, supervised visitation for Natalie pending resolution of federal charges, child support suspended due to her likely incarceration. Logan and May were waiting in the hallway with Alec's sister. They looked scared, confused, like refugees from their own childhood. "Is it over?" Logan asked. "The legal part is," Alec said, "but we have work to do. We need to build a new life together." "Without Mom?" "Your mother made choices that have consequences. But you two didn't make those choices. You're not responsible for her actions." May wrapped her arms around his waist. "I love you, Daddy. I love you too, sweetheart, both of you. That's never going to change." That night, after the kids were asleep, Alec sat in his office reviewing financial statements. The house would have to be sold. Too many memories. Too much debt. He'd already found a smaller place across town, closer to the kids' schools. His phone buzzed. Text message from Derek. "You win. What do you want?" Alex stared at the message for a long time before typing his response. "Everything." The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette ran the story on Friday morning above the fold with photos. Local DA deputy, event planner indicted in charity fraud scheme. The details were brutal. $187,000 stolen from sick children. luxury vacations funded by hospital donations, an extramarital affair that spawned a criminal conspiracy. Alec's phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Reporters, former clients, neighbors wanting statements. He let them all go to voicemail. The truth spoke for itself. By noon, Derek's face was on every local news channel. Perp walk footage from his arrest, handcuffs glinting in camera flashes. The man who'd once commanded courtrooms and charmed juries was now reduced to hiding his face behind expensive lawyers. Natalie got the full treatment too. Video of her stumbling from her apartment, makeup smeared, designer clothes wrinkled from sleeping in them. The caption read, "Disgraced event planner faces federal charges." "Dad," Logan said over lunch, "my phone's been blowing up. Kids at school asking questions." "What kind of questions?" "About Mom, about the money, about everything." Alec set down his sandwich. "What do you want to tell them?" "The truth?" "Then tell them the truth. Your mother stole money from a children's hospital. She had an affair with a corrupt prosecutor. She's facing federal charges because she broke the law. Won't that make it harder for her? Son, your mother made these choices. She documented these crimes. She destroyed our family for money and attention." Alec's voice was gentle but firm. "Your loyalty is admirable but misplaced. She forfeited the right to your protection when she betrayed your trust." May looked up from her coloring book. "Is Mom going to jail?" "Probably. For how long?" "A very long time." "Good," May said matter-of-factly, returning to her coloring. "She was mean to you." Out of the mouths of babes. Derek's lawyer held a press conference that afternoon, standing on the courthouse steps like a politician. Marcus Webb was expensive, connected, and desperate to salvage his client's reputation. "My client maintains his innocence," Webb declared to a crowd of reporters. "These charges are based on fabricated evidence provided by a vindictive ex-husband seeking revenge for his failed marriage." Alec watched the coverage from his office, taking notes. Webb was playing the victim card, painting Derek as the target of a calculated smear campaign. It was a reasonable strategy given the circumstances. It was also completely wrong. Agent Moss called during the evening news. "Saw the press conference. Your response?" "Let them talk. Every statement they make creates more opportunities for perjury charges." "You're thinking like a prosecutor." "I'm thinking like someone who wants justice." "There's a difference?" Alec considered the question. A week ago, he would have said yes. Justice was blind, impartial, focused on truth rather than vengeance. Now he wasn't so sure. "Agent Moss, when you build these cases, do you ever get personally invested?" "What do you mean?" "Do you ever want the defendants to suffer? Not just face consequences, but actually suffer?" A long pause. "Why do you ask?" "Because I want Derek Sims to understand what he destroyed. I want him to lose everything he values, the way he destroyed everything I valued. Is that justice or revenge?" "Maybe both." Saturday morning brought unexpected visitors. Alec was making breakfast when the doorbell rang. Logan answered it, returning with two familiar faces, Derek's ex-wife Carmen and her teenage daughter Jessica. "I hope you don't mind us stopping by," Carmen said. She was attractive in an understated way, with graying brown hair and intelligent eyes. "I wanted to thank you." "Thank me?" "For exposing what Derek really is. I knew he was cheating during our marriage, but I could never prove it. Watching him get arrested on federal charges, it was cathartic." Jessica, 16 and angry, was less diplomatic. "He's a piece of crap who destroyed our family. I'm glad someone finally caught him." "Jessica," Carmen warned. "What? It's true. He left us with nothing while he was spending money on his girlfriends. Now maybe he'll get what he deserves." Alec offered them coffee, and they sat in his kitchen sharing war stories. Carmen's divorce had been brutal. Derek had hidden assets, threatened witnesses, used his connections to drag out proceedings for 3 years. "He's very good at playing the victim," Carmen said. "Makes people feel sorry for him, like he's the one being persecuted." "Not this time," Alec replied. "The evidence is too strong." "Evidence doesn't always matter in family court. Derek knows how to work the system. This isn't family court. This is federal criminal court. Different rules." Carmen smiled for the first time since arriving. "I like you already." They talked for 2 hours. Carmen was a teacher, struggling to make ends meet on a single income while Derek lived in a downtown penthouse. Jessica was smart, bitter, carrying the weight of her father's abandonment like a scar. "Can I ask you something?" Carmen said as they prepared to leave. "Of course." "What's your endgame here?" Derek goes to prison, Natalie goes to prison, then what? Alec considered the question. Then my kids and I build a new life, free from lies, free from betrayal, free from people who would hurt us for their own gain. That's it? That's everything. Sunday brought another revelation. Alec was reviewing financial records when he noticed something odd. Property transfers dating back 2 years. Derek had been quietly buying real estate through shell companies, using what appeared to be charity funds as down payments. 3 houses in suburban Pittsburgh, a vacation cabin in the Pocono Mountains, a commercial building downtown that he was leasing back to the county at inflated rates. It wasn't just charity fraud anymore. It was a systematic scheme to convert stolen funds into untraceable assets. Alec spent the day documenting everything: property records, loan applications, shell company filings. The pattern was clear once you knew what to look for. Derek had been planning this for years, not months. His phone rang at 9 p.m. Unknown number. Hello? You need to back off. The voice was electronically distorted, threatening. Excuse me? Derek Sims has friends, powerful friends, people who don't appreciate what you're doing. And what am I doing? Destroying a good man's reputation with fabricated evidence? Alec almost laughed. Fabricated? Every document is authenticated. Every transaction is verified. Derek stole money from a children's hospital, and I have the receipts. Last warning. Drop this or face the consequences. The line went dead. Alec immediately called Agent Moss. I just received a threatening phone call. Electronic voice distortion warned me off the Derek Sims case. We'll trace it. In the meantime, are you concerned for your safety? I'm concerned for my children's safety. We can arrange protection. Not necessary, but I want this on record. If something happens to me or my family, Derek Sims is responsible. Understood. Anything else? Actually, yes. I found something you need to see. Property transfers, shell companies, money laundering on a much larger scale than we initially thought. How much larger? Try $2.4 million. Monday morning brought federal agents to Derek's penthouse. Alec watched the news coverage from his office, drinking coffee while FBI teams carried out boxes of evidence. Derek's lawyer stood helplessly on the sidewalk, fielding questions from reporters about the expanded charges. Racketeering, money laundering, tax evasion, Agent Moss told Alec over the phone. Your property analysis opened up a whole new investigation. We're looking at a criminal enterprise spanning 5 years. What's Derek's exposure now? Life in prison. Minimum 40 years if he's convicted on all counts. Alec felt that dark satisfaction again, stronger this time. Derek had called him a pathetic cuckold, a trusting fool who'd never see justice. Now the deputy DA was facing life behind bars. There's something else, Agent Moss continued. Derek's trying to flip. He wants to make a deal. What kind of deal? Information about corruption in the DA's office in exchange for reduced charges. He claims there's a whole network of prosecutors taking kickbacks. Do you believe him? Desperate men say desperate things, but we have to investigate. The investigation expanded rapidly. Federal agents interviewed prosecutors, judges, defense attorneys. Derek's claims of widespread corruption were mostly lies, but they contained enough truth to be dangerous. 2 assistant DAs were suspended pending investigation. A judge recused himself from several cases. Derek was trying to burn down the entire system to save himself. Dad, Logan said over dinner Tuesday night, kids at school are saying you're some kind of superhero. What? Like you single-handedly exposed a criminal conspiracy, took down corrupt prosecutors, saved a children's hospital. Alec almost choked on his food. I'm not a superhero, buddy. I just followed the evidence. But you did save people, right? The sick kids who needed the money? I helped recover stolen funds, yes. That's pretty cool, May nodded enthusiastically. You're like Batman, but with math. Despite everything, Alec smiled. His children still saw him as a hero. That meant something. Wednesday brought an unexpected development. Alec arrived at his office to find Carmen Sims waiting in the lobby, holding a manila envelope. I have something for you, she said without preamble. Inside the envelope were financial documents, bank statements, investment records, property deeds, all in Derek's name, all hidden during their divorce proceedings. Where did you get these? Derek's mother gave them to me. She's horrified by what he's done, wants to make amends. Alex studied the documents. More hidden assets, more evidence of financial fraud. Derek had been stealing for longer than anyone realized. Why give these to me instead of the FBI? Carmen met his eyes. Because I trust you to make sure he pays for everything he's done, to all of us. That afternoon, Alec delivered the documents to Agent Moss. They represented another $800,000 in hidden assets, pushing Derek's total exposure over $3 million. This changes everything, Agent Moss said. We're talking about organized criminal activity spanning a decade. What about Natalie? She's cooperating fully. Her testimony is crucial to the case. And her sentence? 12 to 15 years, depending on how useful her cooperation proves to be. Alec felt nothing at the news. No satisfaction, no regret. Natalie had made her choices, and now she would face the consequences. Thursday evening brought a phone call from an unexpected source. Natalie herself. Alec, please, I need to see you. Why? To explain, to apologize, to say goodbye to the kids before you go to prison for 12 years? A long pause. Yes. The kids don't want to see you. They're children. They don't understand. They understand perfectly. You stole money from sick kids. You cheated on their father. You lied to their faces for 3 years. Alec's voice was cold, final. They understand that their mother is a criminal. Please, Alec, 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. No. I'm their mother. You were their mother. Now you're just another defendant waiting for sentencing. He hung up before she could respond. Friday brought news that Derek's trial date had been set, 6 months from now. The media coverage was intense, with legal experts predicting the biggest corruption trial in Pittsburgh's history. Alec found himself becoming a local celebrity. Reporters called him the accountant avenger, the man who'd single-handedly exposed a criminal conspiracy. He declined all interviews, but the attention was flattering. More importantly, it was useful. Alec had been quietly using his newfound fame to expand his forensic accounting practice. Businesses wanted the man who'd caught Derek Sims to review their books. Law firms wanted his expertise on financial crime cases. Within 2 months, his income had tripled. He bought a house in Sewickley, an upscale suburb where old Pittsburgh money lived quietly behind stone walls and wrought iron gates. The house was smaller than his old one, but infinitely more secure. Cameras, alarms, reinforced doors, bulletproof windows in the office. Logan and May adjusted quickly. New schools, new friends, new opportunities. They seemed happier away from the memories of their old life. Dad, May said one evening as he tucked her into bed, are you happy now? What do you mean, sweetheart? You seem different, stronger, like you're not sad about Mom anymore. Out of the mouths of babes. I'm not sad about your mother, Alex said carefully. I'm disappointed. I'm angry, but not sad. Why not? Because she showed me who she really was, and now I know I don't want to be married to someone like that. Are you going to marry someone else? The question caught him off guard. Would that bother you? May considered this seriously. Only if she's mean to you like Mom was. Your mother wasn't mean to me. Yes, she was. She called you boring. She said you worked too much. She made you sad. Alex stared at his daughter, realizing she'd been watching, listening, understanding more than he'd given her credit for. You're right, he said finally. She was mean to me. But I let her be mean to me because I thought that's what love looked like. That's not love. No, it's not. Saturday morning brought an unexpected visitor, Detective Lorna Vance, looking official in her federal agent suit. Morning, Alec. Mind if I come in? Of course. Coffee? Please. They sat in his new kitchen, sunlight streaming through expensive windows. Everything was different from his old life, including himself. You look good, Lorna observed. Healthier. I feel better. The kids seem to be adjusting well. They're resilient. Lorna set down her coffee cup. We need to talk about Derek Sims. What about him? He's been making threats, claiming you fabricated evidence that you're running some kind of vendetta campaign. And his lawyer is suggesting you might have used your military connections to intimidate witnesses. Alec almost laughed. That's ridiculous. Is it? Because I've been watching you these past few months, and you're not the same man I knew in Afghanistan. People change. Yes, they do. Sometimes not for the better. Alex studied his old friend's face. What are you really asking me, Lorna? I'm asking if you've crossed any lines. If there's anything you haven't told me about how you gathered this evidence. Everything I gave you was obtained legally. That's not what I asked. Alec leaned back in his chair. Derek Sims stole money from sick children. He destroyed my marriage, traumatized my kids, and thought he was too smart to get caught. I followed the evidence wherever it led, and it led to him. And if it had led somewhere else? Then I would have followed it there too. Lorna nodded slowly. That's what I was afraid of. Meaning? Meaning you've become someone who sees justice as a zero-sum game, someone who believes the ends justify any means. Is that such a bad thing? When the someone used to be my friend? Yes. They finished their coffee in uncomfortable silence. As Lorna prepared to leave, she paused at the door. Alec, be careful. This case has consumed you. Don't let it consume your soul, too. After she left, Alec stood in his kitchen thinking about her words. Had he changed? Absolutely. Was that a bad thing? He wasn't sure anymore. The man who'd been married to Natalie would have forgiven the affair, worked through the marriage, tried to understand her motivations. That man had been weak, trusting, willing to accept betrayal for the sake of peace. This man was different, harder, more focused, willing to do whatever was necessary to protect himself and his children. Maybe that was evolution, not corruption. Sunday afternoon brought a phone call that changed everything. Mr. Mercer, this is Marcus Webb, Derek Sims' attorney. What do you want? To make you an offer. I'm listening. My client is willing to make full restitution for the charity funds, all of it, plus interest. In exchange, we'd like you to consider asking the prosecutor to recommend reduced charges. Alec almost laughed. Your client stole $3 million and destroyed multiple families. Why would I help him? Because he has information you might find valuable. Such as? About your wife's involvement. About things she did that even you don't know about. The bait was obvious, transparent, but also irresistible. What kind of things? The kind that might affect your custody arrangement. The kind that might change how you see this whole situation. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. Desperate men make desperate choices. The veiled threat was clear. Derek was running out of options, which made him dangerous. That night, Alex sat in his office reviewing security footage from around his house. Motion sensors, infrared cameras, automated alerts. His home was a fortress, but fortresses could be breached. He opened his gun safe and selected a Glock 19, the same model he'd carried in Afghanistan. Muscle memory took over as he checked the magazine, chambered around, engaged the safety. Old habits died hard. His phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. Final warning, back off or face consequences. Alex stared at the message, then typed his response. Come and get me. He was done being the victim, done being the trusting husband, the naive accountant, the man who believed in other people's goodness. If Derek Sims wanted a war, he'd give him one. The courthouse was a circus. Media trucks lined the street, reporters shouting questions at anyone connected to the case. Derek Sims' trial had become the biggest legal story in Pennsylvania. A tale of corruption, betrayal, and spectacular downfall. Alec arrived early on the first day, wearing his best suit and carrying a briefcase full of evidence. He'd spent months preparing for this moment, organizing documents, rehearsing testimony, visualizing Derek's conviction. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was electric. The gallery was packed with reporters, lawyers, and curious citizens who'd followed the story from the beginning. Derek sat at the defense table looking pale and diminished, his expensive suit unable to hide the weight he'd lost during months of stress. Natalie was already there, flanked by federal marshals. She looked older, broken, wearing an orange jumpsuit that marked her as a cooperating witness. She didn't meet Alec's eyes as he took his seat in the gallery. Judge Patricia Coleman called the court to order. She was a no-nonsense jurist, known for running tight proceedings and handing down harsh sentences. Derek's lawyers had tried to get her recused, claiming bias. She'd denied the motion with prejudice. The prosecution's opening statement was devastating. Assistant U.S. Attorney David Chen laid out the case methodically. $3 million stolen from charities and taxpayers, a web of shell companies and fraudulent contracts, lives destroyed for personal gain. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Chen said in closing, this case is about trust. Trust betrayed by a man who swore an oath to serve justice. Derek Sims didn't just steal money. He stole hope from sick children, faith from charitable donors, and integrity from the legal system itself. Derek's lawyer, Marcus Webb, tried to paint his client as the victim of a vengeful ex-husband's elaborate frame job. He argued that Alec Mercer had used his military training and forensic skills to manufacture evidence, destroy documents, and intimidate witnesses. My client is guilty of one thing, Webb told the jury: poor judgment in his personal relationships. But poor judgment is not a federal crime. The first week of testimony established the foundation of the case. FBI agents described the investigation, forensic accountants explained the financial schemes, Charity officials testified about the impact of the thefts. Alec watched it all with professional satisfaction. Every document he'd provided was authenticated, every transaction verified, every connection proven beyond reasonable doubt. The second week brought more dramatic testimony. Natalie took the stand as the prosecution's star witness, her voice barely above a whisper as she described the conspiracy. Derek said it would be easy money, she testified, that Alec was too trusting to notice, too busy to check the books carefully. He said we could take what we needed and replace it later. But you never replaced it, did you? Prosecutor Chen asked. No, there was always another expense, another need. Derek's campaign, the apartment, the vacations. It became easier to take more than to put anything back. And your husband? Did he suspect anything? Natalie glanced at Alec for the first time since entering the courtroom. Not at first. Alec trusted me completely. He signed whatever I put in front of him, approved whatever expenses I claimed were necessary. When did that change? About 6 months before he discovered the affair. He started asking more questions, wanting to see invoices, checking bank statements. Derek said we needed to be more careful. More careful how? Better documentation, fake receipts, backdated contracts. Derek had connections in the county procurement office who could make things look legitimate. The testimony continued for 3 days. Natalie described every aspect of the conspiracy, how they'd identified vulnerable charities, created fake vendor companies, funneled money through offshore accounts. Her cooperation was complete, devastating, and utterly damning to Derek's defense. During cross-examination, Webb tried to portray Natalie as the mastermind, Derek as her unwitting accomplice. It was a desperate strategy that fooled no one. Isn't it true that you initiated the relationship with my client? Webb asked. No, Derek pursued me for months before anything happened. And isn't it true that the financial schemes were your idea? No, Derek designed everything. I just implemented his plans. You're testifying against my client to reduce your own sentence, correct? Yes, but everything I'm saying is true. Week 3 brought Alec to the witness stand. He'd been preparing for this moment for 8 months, and his testimony was flawless. Prosecutor Chen walked him through the discovery process, the anonymous email, the surveillance installation, the financial investigation that uncovered the conspiracy. Mr. Mercer, what was your reaction when you first realized the scope of the fraud? Disbelief, then anger, then determination. These people had stolen from sick children while pretending to be my friends. I wanted them held accountable. Did you ever consider handling this privately? Confronting your wife and Mr. Sims directly? No. This was a federal crime that required federal prosecution. Personal feelings were irrelevant. Tell us about your relationship with the defendant before you discovered his crimes. Alec looked directly at Derek for the first time since the trial began. I considered him a friend. I trusted him in my home, around my children. I asked his advice on legal matters. I believed he was a man of integrity. And now? Now I see him for what he really is, a predator who exploited that trust to steal money and destroy families. Webb's cross-examination was brutal, but ineffective. He tried to paint Alec as vindictive, obsessed, willing to fabricate evidence for revenge. But every document was authenticated, every recording verified, every piece of evidence bulletproof. Isn't it true, Mr. Mercer, that you used illegal surveillance to gather this evidence? No, I installed cameras in my own home, which is perfectly legal. And you shared this information with federal agents without a warrant? I provided evidence of federal crimes to the appropriate authorities. That's not just legal, it's a civic duty. You've benefited professionally from this case, haven't you? Your accounting practice has grown significantly? Yes, people want competent forensic accountants. Exposing a major fraud scheme demonstrated my competence. Some might say you've profited from your wife's misfortune. Alec's voice was cold, steady. Some might say that criminals who steal from sick children deserve whatever misfortune befalls them. The final week brought expert witnesses and closing arguments. The prosecution's case was overwhelming. Hundreds of documents, dozens of witnesses, millions of dollars in traced transactions. Derek's guilt was established beyond any reasonable doubt. Webb's closing argument was a last-ditch appeal for mercy. He portrayed Derek as a flawed man who'd made terrible choices but didn't deserve to spend his life in prison. Yes, my client stole money. Yes, he betrayed trust. But he's not a monster. He's a human being who lost his way and deserves a chance at redemption. Prosecutor Chen's closing was devastating. Derek Sims isn't here because he made mistakes. He's here because he made choices. Deliberate, calculated choices to steal from the most vulnerable members of our society. Children fighting for their lives in hospital beds, whose families trusted that their donations would buy medical equipment and research. Chen gestured toward the defense table. The defendant wants your sympathy, your understanding, your mercy. But where was his sympathy for the children he robbed? Where was his understanding of the trust he betrayed? Where was his mercy for the families he destroyed? The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, their verdict was swift and unanimous, guilty on all counts. Derek collapsed in his chair, his face drained of color. His mother, sitting in the gallery, began sobbing. Marcus Webb stared at the jury in shock, as if he couldn't believe his client's conviction was possible. Alec felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, no joy. Just cold emptiness where his emotions used to be. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Prosecutor Chen gave a brief statement about justice being served and the rule of law prevailing. Marcus Webb promised an appeal. Alec declined all interviews, walking past the cameras without comment. But as he reached his car, one reporter called out a question that stopped him cold. "Mr. Mercer, do you feel like you've gotten your revenge?" Alec turned back, considering the question. The reporter thrust a microphone toward him, waiting for a soundbite. "This was never about revenge," Alec said finally. "It was about truth. Derek Sims stole $3 million from charities and taxpayers. He corrupted the legal system he was sworn to protect. He destroyed families for personal gain. But surely there's some satisfaction in seeing him convicted? There's satisfaction in seeing justice done, in knowing that stolen money will be recovered and returned where it belongs, in protecting other potential victims from a dangerous predator. What about your ex-wife's sentence? Natalie Mercer made her choices and will face the consequences. I hope her cooperation helps prosecute other criminals and recover more stolen funds. And your children? How are they handling all this?" Alec's expression hardened. "My children are off limits. They're innocent victims who deserve privacy and protection." He got in his car and drove away, leaving the circus behind. That evening, alone in his secure house with his children asleep upstairs, Alec sat in his office reviewing the day's events. Derek's conviction was just the beginning. Sentencing would come next, then appeals, then the long process of asset recovery and restitution. But the legal victory felt hollow somehow. Derek would go to prison, Natalie would serve her sentence, and the stolen money would be recovered. Justice by any objective measure. So why did he feel so empty? His phone buzzed. Text message from Carmen Sims. "Thank you. Jessica and I watched the verdict on TV. Finally feels like justice." Another message from Agent Moss. "Outstanding work. Case couldn't have happened without you." More messages from lawyers, reporters, former clients, all congratulating him on the victory, praising his dedication to justice, celebrating the conviction of a corrupt prosecutor. But Alec felt like he was reading about someone else's triumph. The man who'd started this journey 8 months ago, the betrayed husband seeking truth, had died somewhere along the way. What remained was something harder, colder, more efficient. He opened his laptop and began working on his next case, a healthcare fraud investigation involving a nursing home chain and Medicare billing. Another puzzle to solve, another conspiracy to unravel, another set of criminals to expose. The work was engaging, demanding, profitable. It kept his mind occupied and his skills sharp. It gave him purpose, but it didn't give him peace. Sentencing day arrived with all the pomp and circumstance of a state funeral. The courthouse was packed again, media trucks lining the street like hearses. Derek Sims was about to learn how many years of his life he'd traded for $3 million in stolen charity funds. Judge Coleman had a reputation for harsh sentences in financial crimes cases. She'd sent CEOs away for decades, ruined political careers with a single ruling, destroyed criminal enterprises with the stroke of a pen. Derek's lawyers had begged for mercy, filed motion after motion for reduced charges, even suggested their client suffered from a gambling addiction that explained his criminal behavior. None of it mattered. "Mr. Sims," Judge Coleman said, her voice echoing through the packed courtroom, "you have been convicted of racketeering, conspiracy, wire fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion. These crimes represent a betrayal of public trust that strikes at the very foundation of our legal system." Derek stood beside his lawyer, wearing shackles and an orange jumpsuit. The expensive suits were gone, along with the confident smile and political ambitions. Prison had aged him years in just months. The evidence presented at trial showed a systematic, deliberate scheme to defraud charities and taxpayers over a period of 5 years. You stole money intended for sick children, used your position as a prosecutor to facilitate criminal activity, and corrupted the very system you were sworn to protect. Judge Coleman paused, letting the weight of her words settle over the courtroom. The court sentences you to 18 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised release. You will make full restitution to all victims, forfeit all assets connected to your criminal activity, and pay a fine of $500,000. Derek's knees buckled. His mother screamed from the gallery. His lawyer gripped his arm to keep him upright. 18 years. Derek was 42 years old. He'd be 60 when he got out, assuming he survived federal prison. His political career was over, his reputation destroyed, his future reduced to counting days on a prison calendar. Alec watched the sentencing with professional detachment. Justice had been served according to federal guidelines. Derek's crimes warranted significant punishment, and Judge Coleman had delivered it, but he felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, no sense of closure. Just cold emptiness where his emotions used to be. Natalie's sentencing came the following week. Her cooperation had earned her a reduced sentence, but cooperation didn't erase 5 years of theft and fraud. Judge Coleman was no more forgiving to her than she'd been to Derek. Mrs. Mercer, your cooperation with federal authorities has been noted and appreciated. However, your crimes were serious and sustained. You betrayed the trust of charitable donors, stole money from sick children, and participated in a criminal conspiracy that corrupted public institutions. Natalie stood in shackles, her once perfect appearance reduced to prison-issued clothing and no makeup. She looked older, broken, like a stranger wearing his ex-wife's face. The court sentences you to 12 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. You will make full restitution to all victims and forfeit all assets connected to your criminal activity. 12 years. May would be 20 when her mother got out. Logan would be 25. They would grow up, graduate, maybe marry and have children while their mother counted days in a federal penitentiary. Alec felt a flicker of something, regret, pity, but it passed quickly. Natalie had made her choices. She'd chosen Derek over her family, theft over honesty, lies over truth. Now she would live with the consequences. After the sentencing, Alec drove to the federal prison where Derek was being held pending transfer to his permanent facility. The visit had been arranged through Derek's lawyer, a final meeting between the predator and his prey. The visiting room was sterile, institutional, designed to crush hope. Derek sat across from him in an orange jumpsuit, handcuffed to a metal table. He looked smaller somehow, diminished by confinement. "You came," Derek said, his voice hoarse. "I wanted to see the end of this." 18 years, Alec. 18 ducking years. You earned every day of it. Derek's eyes flashed with anger. You destroyed my life over money, over your hurt feelings about an affair. I exposed your crimes. The destruction was self-inflicted. Natalie never loved you, you know that, right? She told me you were boring in bed, pathetic as a husband, that she was only staying for appearances. The words were meant to hurt, but they bounced off Alec like bullets off armor. Is that supposed to matter to me? Doesn't it? Derek, I spent 13 years married to a woman who despised me. You did me the biggest favor of my life by showing me the truth. What truth? That I was living a lie, that my marriage was a sham, that the woman I loved never existed. Alec leaned forward slightly. You freed me from 13 years of misery. I should be thanking you. Derek's face contorted with rage. You self-righteous son of a bitch. You think you're some kind of hero? I think I'm a man who protected his children from criminals. Your children hate their mother because of you. You poisoned them against her. My children understand that their mother stole money from sick kids. They drew their own conclusions. Derek slumped in his chair, the fight going out of him. What do you want from me, Alec? An apology? Begging for forgiveness? I don't want anything from you. This is closure. Closure? The end of Derek Sims. Tomorrow you disappear into the federal prison system for 18 years. Your name will be forgotten, your crimes a footnote in legal journals. You'll become nothing. Alec stood to leave. And me? Derek called after him. What do I become? Alec paused at the door. You become exactly what you always were, a criminal who got caught. The drive home took 40 minutes through suburban Pittsburgh, past houses where normal families lived normal lives. Alec had once been part of that world, worried about mortgages and school districts, planning family vacations and retirement savings. Now he lived in a different world. Gated communities and security systems, forensic accounting and federal investigations, a world where trust was a liability and cynicism was survival. His phone rang as he pulled into his driveway. Carmen Sims. "I saw the news about Derek's sentencing," she said. 18 years. Yes. "How do you feel?" the question everyone asked, as if there should be some emotional payoff for justice served. "I feel like it's over." "Is it? Over, I mean?" Alec considered the question. Derek was in prison, Natalie was in prison, the stolen money was being recovered, his children were safe, his reputation was intact, his business was thriving. "Yes," he said finally, "it's over." But even as he said it, he knew it wasn't true. The legal case was closed, but the personal transformation was ongoing. The man who discovered his wife's affair 8 months ago had died somewhere in the process. What remained was something harder, colder, more dangerous. That night, after Logan and May were asleep, Alex sat in his office reviewing case files. A healthcare fraud investigation, a pension fund embezzlement, a municipal corruption case, other people's crimes, other conspiracies to unravel, other lives to destroy in the name of justice. The work was satisfying in ways his old life had never been. Every solved case, every exposed criminal, every recovered dollar was a victory against chaos and corruption. He was good at it, better than he'd ever been at anything else. But victory felt hollow when there was no one to share it with. His phone buzzed. Email from a journalist named Sarah Chen, no relation to the prosecutor, requesting an interview for a story about financial crime investigation. "Mr. Mercer," the email read, "I'm writing a piece about citizen investigators who help law enforcement solve complex financial crimes. Your work on the Derek Sims case has been remarkable, and I'd love to discuss your methods and motivations." Alex stared at the email for a long time before responding. "Ms. Chen, I appreciate your interest, but I prefer to let my work speak for itself. However, if you're interested in discussing financial crime investigation techniques in general terms, I'm available for a brief conversation." He hit send before he could reconsider. Maybe it was time to start building connections in the media, developing sources who could help with future investigations. Or maybe he was just lonely. The thought stopped him cold. When had he last had a conversation with someone who wasn't a client, a law enforcement officer, or his children? When had he last laughed at something that wasn't the downfall of a criminal? When had he become so isolated from normal human connection? His reflection was interrupted by a sound from upstairs, May crying. Alec climbed the stairs quickly, finding his daughter sitting up in bed with tears streaming down her face. "Bad dreams, sweetheart." "I dreamed about Mom," May said, wiping her nose with her pajama sleeve. "She was trying to come home, but you wouldn't let her in." Alex sat on the edge of her bed. "Do you want Mom to come home?" May considered the question seriously, the way 8-year-olds approached important matters. "Sometimes. But then I remember what she did, and I get mad again. It's okay to miss her and be angry at the same time." "Is that how you feel?" The question pierced through his carefully constructed emotional armor. Did he miss Natalie? The woman who'd lied to him for years, stolen from charities, betrayed their family for money and Zex? "I miss who I thought she was," he said finally. "But that person never really existed." "Are you sad?" "Not anymore." "Are you happy?" Another piercing question from his 8-year-old daughter. Was he happy? He was successful, respected, financially secure. His children were safe and thriving. His enemies were imprisoned. But happy? "I'm satisfied," he said carefully. May frowned. "That's not the same thing." "No, it's not. Maybe you need a new mom. Not for me and Logan, but for you. Someone who's nice to you." Alec tucked her back under her covers. "Maybe someday. Someone who won't steal money from sick kids." "Definitely someone who won't steal money from sick kids." May smiled for the first time since waking up. "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, sweetheart, more than anything in the world." As he turned off her light and closed her door, Alec realized his daughter had identified something he'd been unable to see. He'd become so focused on destruction, destroying Derek, destroying Natalie, destroying anyone who threatened his family, that he'd forgotten about construction. What kind of life was he building for himself and his children? What kind of man was he becoming? The questions followed him back to his office, where case files waited and criminals lurked in spreadsheets and bank records. The work was important, necessary, profitable. But it wasn't life. It was just another form of survival. And Alec Mercer was tired of just surviving. 6 months after Derek's sentencing, Alec Mercer had become the most sought-after forensic accountant in Western Pennsylvania. His phone rang constantly with requests from law firms, federal agencies, and corporate clients who wanted the man who'd brought down a corrupt prosecutor to review their books and find their hidden problems. He'd moved his practice to a downtown office building, hired 3 associates, and established partnerships with investigators and attorneys across the region. Mercer Financial Forensics was becoming a small empire built on other people's crimes and his ability to expose them. The money was excellent. 6-figure retainers, hourly rates that would have seemed impossible 2 years ago, consulting fees that let him buy whatever his children needed and still have plenty left over. Financial security beyond anything he'd achieved during his marriage. But success felt hollow when measured against what he'd lost. Not Natalie. He felt nothing for her anymore except professional disgust, but something harder to define. The ability to trust, maybe. The willingness to believe in other people's goodness. The capacity for simple human connection.